Okay, Thomas Freed here, and I know that I've been a little remiss on getting content out for the last month. I've been busy with other things, but I've finished them up, and hopefully we'll be getting more shorts out and video over the next coming weeks as the Democrat Convention gets going this week and American politics heats up. In the meantime, one of those things I've been working on is rewriting my introductory primer, The Simple Truth About Income Tax, which is available at irszoom.com for just $6 and exposes the income tax fraud for all of America to see. Because Donald Trump, when they changed the tax law in 2018, they took away the Department of Justice's and the IRS's ability to claim you owe the tax because of the 16th Amendment. They can no longer go to court arguing you owe the tax because of the amendment. Okay, next topic. The Democrat Convention we have coming up. Yes, starts tonight, this week. And who wants to bet that we're not going to see violence from the left in the city streets of Chicago? There's 100,000 anti-Israel protesters, pro-terrorist, pro-Hamas, pro-Palestinian protesters, the youth of the Democratic Party, which have co-opted the party and driven Biden out and brought in the most liberal senator in the Senate, VP Comrade Kamala. So this week, we're going to see the protests, and I'll bet you it's the left that's violent. The Trump convention, the Republican convention, didn't have any violence at all associated with it. It went perfectly fine. But the Democrats are probably going to burn Chicago down again. So it is Comrade Kamala, Karma Chameleon, changing positions, most liberal senator in the Senate, right up there with Bernie Sanders. And what's her economic policy that she's finally come out with after a month of not saying anything to America? And no wonder, right? Her economic policy is Soviet-era price controls. She's adopting the economic policy that drove the Soviet Union into bankruptcy and drove the people of Russia into standing in line 8 hours for one block of cheese. Price controls won't fix anything, and the supermarkets aren't price gouging. They work on a profit margin of about 1 to 1.5%. 1%! The food stores make the smallest profit margins of any industry in place. Price gouging. What an idiot! So, what is Comrade Kamala proposing? She wants to impose a tax on bank transactions. She wants to impose a tax on financial transactions. She wants to ban fracking and shut down oil and move further to electrification without building any new nuclear power plants to actually supply the grid to do that. She wants food price controls, rent price control, and utility price controls, which of course is the government moving to take over the utilities, which become expensive because the government raised the price of the underlying fuel, the coal and the gas and the oil. And now, because it's a problem, they want to take over and set the price and ration it. Yeah, right. Just like Russia, Cuba, China, North Korea, Venezuela, Zimbabwe, South Africa, all the other places that failed. And what else does she want to do? Yeah, that's right. I'm talking about Comrade Kamala. She wants to provide universal income, like printing money and passing it out won't cause more inflation. Oh, and now she says she's reversing her position on every single policy she ever had. She no longer wants to ban fracking, and she wants to, just like Trump said, not tax tips. But 2 years ago, she was the tie-breaking vote in the Senate at 50-50 tie. She voted 2 tax tips of hospitality workers. She's the one that voted it in. Now she says she wants, no, now we should not do it. She's the one who did it. She's the one who did it. This is a pandering, pathological liar. Oh, what else does she want to do? Comrade Kamala? She says she wants to close the border after 4 years of letting in an ocean and orchestrating an invasion of illegal aliens. Now she wants to close the border. And they also said she was never the border czar. No, she was never put in charge of it. And now she says she wants to prosecute crime. She's the prosecutor. She wants to prosecute crime after letting the criminals go unprosecuted for the last 4 years. And she says she's going to close the detention centers and do what? Just release everyone being held into America? We know they're not going to deport anyone. And can she, as president, actually enact any of these policies, or is she just lying in front of every crowd she gets in front of? Of course, Kamala's tactic is exactly the same as Joe Biden's. She's just buying votes. Universal income, Medicare for all, control the rent, control the utilities, control the food. They're just buying votes. Oh, and what else? That's right, 25,000 for first-time home buyers. Yeah, foreigners too. And, that is just going to create more inflation. I'm not sure it actually jacks the prices of real estate, but it's going to piss the American people off. First-time home buyers are already funded with VA loan, with the HUD loans. So $25K, just passing it out, you're just buying votes from the youth. Again, buying votes, that's their policy. Spend the money, inflate the currency, buy votes. And Comrade Kamala is lying about Trump's positions. He doesn't want to raise taxes on gas. He's going to lower the cost by allowing the companies to drill, baby, drill, speeding up the permit and leasing, and going back to leasing, speeding up the permit process. It's Kamala who wants you to pay more for gasoline. She's just lying to you. And lower energy costs. She's going to lower energy costs by putting a price control on the utility. Yeah, right. No, that's just going to diminish the purchasing power of the dollars. Passing out 25,000 lower energy prices. And she says what? Reduce costs. Yeah, she's going to reduce costs by printing more money, passing it out, and price controlling the company's operations. This is Soviet-era politics, guaranteed to fail, guaranteed to destroy the quality of life in America. Okay, here's one. On Wednesday, the Bureau of Labor Statistics will downward revise the job reports for the last year by 1 million jobs. They're revising the job reports for the last 9 to 12 months to down 1 million. That means every single one of the job reports that beat the estimates is now a miss. They never hit anything. And the U.S. job market is very weak and has been all along, ever since you had 2 down quarters and entered the recession, which you've been in for about 2.5 years. And they lied about by trying to redefine recession when it happened and say, oh, it's not 2 down quarters. Look at the job reports. Liars. Liars, liars. They're revising them down 1 million. We're in a recession. It's headed for a depression. And that's the really bad news, isn't it? That we are headed for a depression. And we've been in a recession for 3 years now, since we had the 2 down quarters and the Biden administration tried to deny it and reverse the definition of a recession to something other than 2 down quarters. But it was 2 down quarters. It still is. We've been in the recession all along. And with the inverted yield curve now in place for over 2.5 years, we're about the point where we may hit a depression because Main Street is losing access to capital. They've maxed out their credit cards. They're starting to default on payments. And it doesn't look good for Main Street, even as Wall Street rolls in the unlimited cash that they printed. It all ended up pouring into Wall Street and the stock exchange. So they've got cash and Main Street doesn't. Oh, did you hear? The Supreme Court issued a ruling on the Biden administration's attempt to rewrite the Title IX laws to allow men to compete in women's sports, both in high school and in college, so that the equal protection to women provided by Title IX in certain spaces is applied to men who think they're women and actually have a psychological disorder, which would be defined as a mental illness. But the Supreme Court upheld the lower court's injunction prohibiting the Biden administration from attempting to do that. And of course, that was the correct decision. The original intent of Congress in enacting Title IX in the mid-'70s was to protect women, biological women, not mentally ill men who think that they are women. Biologically women. That means the only way to review this law is one, original intent using biological science that relies on chromosomal genetics. XX, you're in. XY, go play with the boys. I'm sorry if you won't do well with the boys, but that's the way it works. Everybody gets to play sports with their own gender. And you know, there are some sports where men and women play together on the same team. It's called tennis, mixed doubles. So if you want to do that, take it up. But you don't get to think you're a woman and win the gold medals in the Olympics, which is, of course, what just happened. 2 men won the gold medals in women boxing. The women are going to be completely displaced from sports if this isn't brought back under control by Title IX, which punishes those providing the opportunity to men instead of women. Okay, and I got one last note here on the Olympics. Boy, did they screw up the women's Olympic basketball team. I watched some of that, not because I wanted to, but because I wanted to be informed on the subject. And I'm telling you, Caitlin Clark is the best guard in the WNBA by far. She's also the best shooter in the WNBA by far. The women's Olympic team looked absolutely pathetic at certain times. They couldn't dribble, they couldn't hold the ball, they couldn't pass, they'd run it down court and turn it over, they missed shots from under the rim. They're just lucky that the USA is so much better than everybody else in the country that the other teams just couldn't keep up through 4 quarters of the game. They needed Caitlin Clark on that team. She's the best guard in the WNBA and getting better all the time. Her game yesterday was just great. She passes the ball spectacularly. She shoots. She drops it from all over the court. She should have been on that Olympic team. Absolutely clear. The only girls on that team who are anywhere near as good as her were Brianna Stewart, and Diana Taurasi looked good too, but she was hurt. She was old and couldn't play in the final game. She was out because of injury. The other girls, I wasn't that impressed with Asia Wilson. She missed a lot of stuff underneath. She's good because she's tall. Same thing with Brittany Griner. But Caitlin Clark's the one who's got the moves, the dribble, the passing, the shooting. She's just fun to watch. She really is. Just fun to watch.